All your machines that you install, they already have a backdoor in it. A lot of things have happened again in their environment, and the incident response report, I would say it was worth nothing. You can actually try to cut the path already there. Make sure that your email account is properly secured. Otherwise, it's very likely that all your other services are gone as well.
Hi everyone, this is the third and last part of my interview series with Alexander Kolmann from Microsoft's compromise recovery team. In this part, I will talk with Alex about how to clean up servers and Office PCs after attacks, why companies cannot prevent hacker attacks, and why security certifications and compliance will not help companies to protect themselves. So I hope you enjoy. And when you cleaned up Active Directory, you must also make sure that all compromised servers that you know that were compromised are switched out too, or what is your approach here? So if you know that the attacker might have a backdoor in a web application, so that wouldn't be, so your approach to clean that up wouldn't have helped there, would it?
So basically, our recommendation is every machine that has been flagged as compromised by the incident response team and the IR report, that needs to be rebuilt. There must be a new machine that replaces the old compromised one. Doesn't matter if it's a domain controller, application, server, whatsoever. So every machine that is known compromised, that needs to be rebuilt.
Mm-hmm. And how do you make sure that you don't just copy the web root, including a web shell, to the new server?
I, of course, cannot ensure it. So we tell the customers at least try to apply some additional measures to check for those. But actually, I would say it's very difficult, because we also had the situation where, let's say, for example, your image gets compromised and you actually deploy already a compromised image. So all your machines that you install, they already have a backdoor in it. So, I mean, the same if you simply copy and paste some configuration that is compromised, then, it's really difficult, I would say, to do that in an automated way. So the people who are operating that application server, if the Dart or if any IR report typically tries to find those kind of backdoors, but if they have missed it, it's bad, definitely.
Do you do such work that you set up new systems and you take them down and reinstall, or is this something the customer needs to do on its own?
Yeah, the customer needs to do it. Of course, we can help and support, but we don't have any access to the production environment. So we can give some guidance, we can tell them. However, we don't have access to the production environment to make any configuration changes, for example.
Mm-hmm. So and how about your customer retention? Did it happen that you cleaned up an infrastructure and soon you came back for another incident?
Honestly, I had it once, but this was actually, I would say, more or less made for it, because the customer actually did the incident response. They had the report, they know what systems have been compromised. We started with our activities, with the planning and everything. And then the customer decided, no, now we are not allowed to do anything because of, I think it was Christmas. So it's so important, we cannot make anything.
So it's a classical freeze during some holidays or so?
Yes, let's wait for 3 weeks and then we should continue. So we had to stop for 3 weeks. We came back. However, in that 3 weeks, a lot of things have happened again in their environment, and the incident response report, I would say it was worth nothing. I mean, if you're looking at a 4 or 5 weeks old incident response report, you can simply start from scratch. You need to do another incident response, have an actual up-to-date IR report, and then you can plan and act against that again. But if you play something like that, definitely not recommended. Otherwise, you will end up in that situation.
Yeah, it's like war with a map that is 100 years old.
Exactly, yes. So it doesn't make any sense, and I would not recommend to do it. So yeah, it's definitely something you should avoid. Definitely, if you have the IR report and then having a break for a couple of weeks or even more than a month, yeah, you need to start from scratch. Otherwise, it's
yeah. Do you have something like the funniest case you have or you had?
The funniest case, I mean, probably it depends for who it is funny for the cast. I mean, normally and that's totally understandable. Everyone is under the pressure. Customers said we are under pressure. There are normally not really times for a lot of jokes and for some fun. So we need to get things done. But I remember the situation actually. I mean, at the beginning it was not fun, but in the end they could laugh about because so they also said we are able to cut off the whole internet. So this was not a very huge customer. It was a smaller one, so they actually had very good control over the internet outbreaks. So they decided to cut down everything because the customer also started some data exfiltration, and they shut down everything and everything went quiet. And then after 2 or 3 days, because it was over a longer period of time, I think it was 2 days later, they suddenly recognized that there was some data uploaded to, I think it was Dropbox, and they couldn't explain what's going on. Everything should have been blocked. And then one of their people on their side, they deployed an LTE router, plugged it into their environment to get access. And of course, that path was then taken by the attacker to exfiltrate the data because there was an internet connectivity. And this actually, when they realized it was just an LTE router switched on by someone in their environment, they could laugh because they first of all thought, okay, what's going on? But this actually shows how difficult it is to shut down everything. I mean, if someone goes in with the LTE router and plugs it into the network and there is a way outbound the attacker can take or path, he will find it and he will take it. I mean, that in the end it was funny because, yeah, it was just the LTE router deployed by the employee who did some data upload.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's often the case that people will find their way through the security measures.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned the pressure and also that people and also service companies are under pressure. Do you experience resistance here from external companies that are, for example, managing the Active Directory infrastructure for another company that was now compromised? Is this usually a good collaboration, or is there someone blamed or saying I'm not the one who is responsible for that, or how is this collaboration going on with external supporters?
So first of all, I always make sure that I really make them clear we are here not for a blame game. So I won't blame anyone, and it's really important to have a good collaboration. Otherwise, yeah, that will simply not work, because if someone tries to hide something, I mean, it's already too late. If the incident response happened and we have the report and we know, for example, there were a couple of hundred people in the domain admins or other bad configurations or whatsoever, or machines never patched for some years, I mean, it's too late. We simply need to act, and most of the time, I would say, in only very rare cases, it's where people try to hide something or try to be resistant. But normally they really understand the urgency, understand the situation, and try to work together. And I think they know that it's too late. what they haven't done over the last 10, 20 years, they can simply not hide, or it's simply too late. So that must be a lessons learned after that has been done, which should be moved into the strategic part, where this can be discussed and where the improvements can happen for the future, that it doesn't happen again. But here during our time, we are there for tactical things and getting actually that done.
Yeah. So that sounds like you you not only have to be very skilled in technical stuff, but also have to do a very good job in communications to bring all people to the table. I imagine this could be quite a challenging thing. So you're obviously doing a good job if you get all people to a table.
Yes, that's very important, that the people who need to be involved are really involved. If you try if you miss someone and they are not involved, that should be, then you will not be successful. That's definitely important. However, of course, you always need to try to minimize the number of people who know what is going on, because it's actually very, I would say, confidential. If if you're talking about ransomware, you don't need to hide anything. Everyone typically is aware in the organization that something is going wrong or we have some problems. But if there is a nation state attack or some targeted thing going on, typically not everyone in the organization is aware of it. And then, of course, the more people you bring into the project, the difficult it gets to actually make sure that not everyone in the organization knows about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There is a saying that there are two types of companies: those that have been hacked and those that don't know. Is this true?
I would say yes, because I think ransomware shows us that exactly. The things that the actors behind the ransomware do, they simply want to make money. This is why they cause the noise, and they will make you aware of that. But the same vulnerabilities or the same weaknesses you have could be exploited by another actor that will simply do it in a more stealth way. And I don't know how many companies are actually infiltrated by an attacker who does it in a more stealthier way. So ransomware is just very noisy. You simply know it, you see it, you are aware of that something is wrong in your environment. But if that wouldn't be the case, how do you know it? I would say most of the cases that's true. Yeah.
We already talked about how to possibly identify an attacker in the infrastructure, but what do you recommend? What is the most important measure to prevent that an attacker comes into the infrastructure?
So I would say, to come in, it's probably very difficult to prevent, because an end user, he will click on that email. But let's say if the attacker makes it on that machine, it's very important that he cannot compromise your whole infrastructure. As an example, if your domain administrator does his domain admin tasks, configuration changes on a domain controller from that machine, and is logged onto that machine with domain admin credentials, the attacker can do the same, and your whole domain is lost. The whole infrastructure, the control is lost. So it's important to have a separation between some office tasks, that if you need to write some emails, write some Word documents, do presentations, do whatever you want. And then you have some machines dedicated and hardened for administrative purposes, where you can actually try to cut the path already there at the very beginning. If that's not possible, I would say one of the most effective ways that the end user is not running as a local administrator. And apart from that your machines are actually patched and updated. If you simply install the machines and never apply any patches, it's very likely that those machines are gone very quickly.
And who do you think is actually responsible for that prevention? Is it the management, or is it the IT, or must there be a dedicated security team responsible for this prevention? Who is really responsible for this?
I would say it's a team sport, I would say, because if the management is not aware of the risks, what then I call it like an IT heart attack. If the IT is down, what does it mean to my business? If there are if I make the money with my online shop and this is down and everything else is down, I will not make any money. So the management must be aware of that, and then of course also supports that. I've seen customers, they simply failed, that the IT people, they wanted to make some changes, they want to do it, but management always said business is more important than security. So you will not make any changes because business simply prevents it. If the business supports it and provides the necessary framework, that the security people and the people who do the operation and so on, so there are multiple people and teams involved to actually secure it and to make it actually more secure than it is. So that's actually, I mean, at the big customers, they have departments for cyber prevent, for detection, for all those kind of things, for operations. So it's a team sport. However, management must support it. And if they don't, it will fail.
Mm-hmm. You said that it's only a matter of time that a user will click on a phishing mail. Does it make sense to make phishing simulations, to send the employees phishing mails, to test them or to teach them? Does that make sense?
I think you can do that as an additional task, but if you only rely on that, that's not what you should do. I mean, also we internally, we have some kind of phishing simulations. I don't know how often now, twice a year or even more, I don't know. But basically this is how to train, that the people know how to report such kind of phishing measures. But I would say if it's a very targeted and good phishing email, it's very likely that the end user clicks on it. And I think it doesn't make any sense to blame the end user. There must be some technical measures in place, however those look like, but actually to reduce the blast radius and actually contain it.
Yeah. So Bruce Schneier said already years ago, stop trying to fix the user. So that's maybe something you would support.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And
I think there must be some technical measures in place, and not only relying on the user not clicking on a link.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And does it make sense to get a security certification like ISO 271, and then everything will be fine?
I mean, if you just do everything on the paper and don't implement or just rely on that, I mean, it's something that is definitely, I would say, not bad to have it, supports it. However, if you only rely on compliance or on some certifications, it's probably not what you will protect you from the bad guys out there.
As a last question, what would you recommend private people to improve their security?
So I think what I've seen so often is that people are using the same password on every single service they are using. If it's, I don't know, Facebook, Google, mail, whatsoever. So try to use different passwords at different services, and if possible and supported, try to enable MFA. So if you enable MFA for your services, I think that's something that also improves your security posture, improves a lot.
So MFA is multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
Like sending SMS or better even a one-time token like TOTP or something.
Yes, exactly. And protect your email account, I would say, at the most, because if you have compromised the email account, probably all your other services can be resetted with that, with having access to that email account. So make sure that your email account is properly secured. Otherwise, it's very likely that all your other services are gone as well.
Yeah, true. Alex, thank you very much. There were really, really great insights, and I also learned a lot. So thank you very much for your time. Was really a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Aaron, for having me, and have a nice day.
Great,
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye. This was the third and last part of my interview series with Alexander Kolmann from Microsoft's Compromise Recovery team. If you have questions, please post them below. You find the other parts in the description below. If you liked the interview, you definitely want to subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye-bye.